In a world drowning in noise, where people speak without thinking, react without listening, and act without purpose, the ability to command your own mind has become a forgotten art. We live in an age where speed is mistaken for intelligence, where the loudest voice and fastest speaker is often mistaken for the wisest, and where action without direction is glorified as strength. But the truth is simple and eternal. Power begins within. Power belongs to those who can control their thoughts, shape their words with care, and move with deliberate strength. That is what the Stoics taught, and that is what this lecture will show you how to master. The Stoic sage knew that words are not to be spilled carelessly. A sage speaks only when their words outweigh the silence, when what they say has more value than the stillness they are breaking. They speak with intention, never to fill empty air, but to carry meaning, truth, and weight. Every word is considered, measured, and sharpened like a blade. They understood that silence is never empty, it is a canvas, and speech is the brushstroke that should never be wasted. In the grand tapestry of human interaction, every word we speak is a thread that can either strengthen the weave or cause it to unravel. Choose your threads wisely. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, counsels, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." In the theatre of life, the wise man often chooses to be an audience, understanding that words are like keys. Used wisely, they can unlock greatness. Used recklessly, they can close the doors of opportunity. He practices the art of Stoicism, speaking not out of turn, but out of truth, teaching us that the most profound statements are often made in silence. The wise man's silence is a loud lesson. He speaks only when his words outweigh the silence. For in the halls of Stoicism, it's known, speak not because you must, but because your words can change the must into a meaningful melody. A sage whispers in a world that shouts, knowing that wisdom, like the sun, doesn't have to roar to be felt. In the stillness of his calm, he teaches the Stoic truth. It's not the volume of our words, but the weight of their silence that truly speaks. We're all too familiar with those who only talk for attention, filling the air with meaningless chatter to mask their lack of substance. But the ancient Stoics knew better. They saw words as weapons, effective only when precisely targeted and used purposefully. On top of that, it's in silence that we can observe, learn, and understand. Thus, by speaking less and listening more, your words gain weight and substance, making others listen when you speak. This is not a lesson in empty motivation. It is a guide, a map back to yourself. You will learn how to clear the fog of your own thinking, how to speak in a way that commands attention and earns respect, and how to act in a world that is too often reactive, chaotic, and hollow. The mastery of thought, speech, and action is not an ancient relic of the past. It is the foundation of personal power, and it is yours to reclaim, starting now. Chapter 1. The clarity of thought. The battle within. Before you can ever speak wisely or act strong, you must first learn how to think clearly. The Stoics taught that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Clarity is not something you stumble upon, it is cultivated. It is earned through discipline, self-awareness, and curiosity. The curious mind is an intelligent mind, a self-teaching mind. But how do you become a clear thinker in a world filled with noise? The answer is silence. In the noise of the modern world, the person who can sit in silence without distraction is already ahead. When you deliberately slow down your mind, when you reflect, when you challenge your own beliefs and biases, you are sharpening the blade of your clarity. Clarity of thought is a superpower in a world clouded by noise and confusion. It is not just about having an opinion or a fleeting thought. It is about understanding precisely what you are thinking, why you are thinking it, and whether it deserves your attention. When you develop clarity, you stop being a passive victim to every passing emotion, every distracting piece of information. Instead, you become intentional with your mental energy. To think clearly, you must first focus on your mental equilibrium. Imagine your mind as a body of water. When it is agitated, nothing can be seen beneath the surface. But when it is calm, everything becomes clear. Clarity of thought is only possible when you bring stillness to your inner world. You cannot see the shape of your ideas if you are constantly reacting, rushing, or speaking without reflection. Another pillar of clear thought is precision in language. The way you think is intimately connected to the way you speak. If your speech is lazy, filled with slang, shortcuts, and fragmented phrases, your thinking will follow the same scattered pattern. The Stoics knew that clear thinking demanded disciplined speech. When you make an effort to clean up your vocabulary, to pronounce words deliberately, to avoid filler language, your mind follows suit. Your thoughts become sharper, more structured, and more sophisticated. Strive to cultivate a driven mindset, one that seeks constant improvement, not just in knowledge, but in how you articulate that knowledge. Improving your grammar, refining your choice of words, and eliminating slang are not about sounding elite. They are about mastering yourself. Every time you choose to speak with elegance and conviction, you are training your mind to think in the same way. When you command your voice, you command your thoughts. Talking with confidence and conviction is not merely an external performance. It is a feedback loop that strengthens your inner clarity. When you speak with precision and control, you send a signal to your mind. I am in command here. Over time, this practice reconditions your thinking patterns. You begin to see solutions where others see obstacles. You speak with poise because you have already done the hard work of thinking clearly. If you wish to live like the Stoic sage, begin by mastering your own tongue. Let your words be few but powerful, clean yet captivating. Speak slowly, deliberately, and with full awareness of the meaning behind each syllable. Do not speak to fill the air. Speak to carry weight, to shape understanding, to inspire thought. Every sentence should be an arrow aimed with care. Language is the bridge between your mind and the world. When you refine that bridge, you also refine the paths of your own thoughts. The sage understands that language is not casual. It is a tool of influence, a reflection of discipline. When you clean up your speech, when you avoid empty slang, lazy phrasing, or careless filler, you are in fact engaging in a much deeper practice. You are training your own thinking. The clarity of your speech reveals the clarity of your mind. It exposes whether your thoughts are structured or scattered, whether your ideas are grounded or drifting. When you speak with precision, with poise, and with calm authority, you are announcing to the world and to yourself that you are in control of your inner state. This does not mean you must speak formally or coldly. On the contrary, the most captivating speech is honest and intentional. It is clear without being robotic, elegant without being pretentious. It is speech that shows the listener you respect them enough to think carefully about the words you are offering them. In doing so, you will discover something remarkable. When you discipline your speech, your thoughts become disciplined. When you speak with conviction, you will think with conviction. When you slow down and choose your words, your mind will slow down and choose better thoughts. It is a virtuous cycle, a feedback loop of clarity, wisdom, and strength. So let every word you speak be intentional. Let every sentence be the result of clear thought. And watch how, over time, the chaos within you dissolves and is replaced by focus, poise, and true power. Think of it like a blacksmith crafting a sword. Every blow of the hammer is a moment of introspection, every dip into the water a pause to reflect. Over time, the sword becomes sharp, resilient, and ready. So too must your mind be forged. Start each morning by sitting in silence for 5 minutes. No phone, no conversation, just you and your thoughts. Ask yourself, what am I thinking about right now? Is it clear? Is it useful? Is it true? This practice will build the foundation of clear thinking. Chapter 2. Curiosity, the seed of wisdom. A clear mind is a curious mind. When you cultivate curiosity, you create a fertile ground for wisdom to grow. The Stoics believed that philosophy itself was an exercise in curiosity, asking why, seeking truth, questioning assumptions. Curiosity for them was not a trivial habit. It was the essential fuel of a life well examined. It was the beginning of all learning, all mastery, and all self-knowledge. Without curiosity, the mind grows stagnant, rigid, and blind to the deeper layers of existence. Curiosity leads to self-education. It leads to self-reliance. A curious mind does not depend on others to feed it information passively. It reads, listens, observes, and asks. It questions what others accept. It does not look at the world with rigid certainty, but with wonder and openness. And when your mind is always learning, always seeking, you become the type of person who can think circles around others, not because you merely accumulate more facts, but because you are willing to question more assumptions, to connect ideas others overlook. This kind of curiosity breeds agility of thought. It sharpens your mental reflexes. It helps you avoid falling into cognitive laziness, which is rampant in a world designed to bombard you with shallow information. Curiosity demands that you go deeper. It invites you to pull the thread of an idea until it reveals something profound. The Stoics lived by this principle, to look beneath appearances, to ask what is really true beneath the noise. They knew that to grow wiser, you had to become comfortable with uncertainty, to sit with questions before rushing to answers. When you approach life with a curious mind, everything becomes an opportunity to learn. Every interaction, every disagreement, every success or failure is another chance to ask yourself, what is really happening here? What can I learn from this? This mindset creates resilience, adaptability, and sharp mental faculties that cannot be dulled by the opinions or emotions of others. The most engaging people are not those who lecture endlessly or drown others in information. They are those who ask interesting questions that spark reflection, who tell stories that make lessons come alive, who connect ideas in ways that make you pause and think. They become intellectual magnets, pulling others into conversation not through dominance, but through genuine interest and insight. Their curiosity becomes contagious, drawing others into the arena of thoughtful dialogue. This type of person stands out in a world of surface-level conversation. They ask the questions others are too distracted or too arrogant to ask. They listen with an open mind. They speak not to win, but to explore and exchange. In their presence you feel the rare energy of someone whose mind is alive, moving, reaching beyond the obvious. In conversation, curiosity transforms you into an active listener. It makes you pay attention not only to the words people say, but to the ideas, emotions, and assumptions behind those words. It encourages a more thoughtful and reflective approach to human interaction. You begin to hear what is not said, to sense the underlying concerns or aspirations embedded in the conversation. You no longer just hear, you interpret, you feel, and you analyze with greater depth. This attentiveness fosters stronger relationships, deeper understanding, and more meaningful dialogue. It makes you more empathetic, more perceptive, more prepared to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. You are not simply waiting for your turn to speak. You are participating in the act of connection. You begin to approach each conversation with a sense of purpose, guided not by your ego, but by a sincere desire to understand. The curious mind never assumes it already knows the answer. It leans in, it listens longer, and by doing so, it builds bridges where others burn them. When you are curious, you are never mentally idle. You are constantly building, connecting, refining your understanding. Your internal landscape is always expanding. You begin to develop an internal compass that guides you through ambiguity and uncertainty. Curiosity allows you to be comfortable with the unknown because you trust in your ability to explore, to learn, and to grow. It becomes your greatest tool for inner transformation. Curiosity, when paired with discipline, becomes unstoppable. It doesn't settle for surface answers or easy truths. It questions everything, including itself. It sharpens your ability to see through deception, whether from others or from your own biases and emotional reactions. The Stoic way is not blind belief. It is the relentless pursuit of truth and understanding. True curiosity requires humility. It requires you to admit that you do not know everything and to find joy in learning something new. This admission is not a loss of authority. It is the beginning of genuine power. The truly wise are never ashamed to ask questions, to reevaluate their beliefs, or to seek out the unfamiliar. Curiosity turns learning into a lifestyle, not a chore. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength, because it signals that your mind is always in motion, always expanding, always preparing itself to think clearly, speak wisely, and act strong. A curious mind resists stagnation. It moves toward truth like a river carves through stone, with persistence, with focus, with unstoppable energy. It is the trait that elevates good thinkers into great ones, and everyday speakers into unforgettable communicators. In this way, curiosity is not just a habit, it is an act of courage. To choose curiosity is to choose growth over comfort, wisdom over ignorance, connection over isolation. And it all begins with the willingness to ask, what else is there to learn here? Every day, ask 3 curious questions about the world or yourself. Write them down. Then, find the answers. They could be simple or complex. What matters is that you are training your mind to seek. Chapter 3. The Power of Pause, the Art of Listening and Speaking. Sean Connery, a man known not only for his roles but for his voice, once said, "There is something about the way a man pauses between words that makes people listen." That pause, the deliberate, controlled stillness between sounds, carries more weight than the words themselves. It is not empty space, it is a message in itself. It is a mark of restraint, discipline, and presence. In the modern world, we have forgotten the power of the pause. We live in a time of verbal clutter, where silence is feared more than ignorance. People rush to fill every gap in conversation, driven not by clarity, but by anxiety, an anxiety that their voice might go unheard, or worse, that the silence might reveal the emptiness behind their words. They talk over one another, they race to be heard, they believe that speed is intelligence and that volume is authority. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that wisdom is not in the flood of words, but in the calm reservoir between them. It is not the talking, but the waiting, the intentional, patient pause that demonstrates control. The pause is a sign of strength because it shows you are not enslaved by impulse. It is the mark of someone who governs themselves, not someone who is thrown by every wind of conversation. It shows that you are not reacting, but choosing. To speak wisely, you must first listen deeply, not only to others, but also to yourself. You must understand what is being said and what is not being said. You must collect your thoughts before releasing them, like arrows aimed with precision and purpose. This kind of pause is not weakness, it is not hesitation, it is strategy, it is composure, it is inner strength. When you pause, you create space, and in that space, you become the one who controls the flow of conversation. You disarm the aggressive speaker who expects you to react impulsively. You unsettle the manipulator who expects you to lose your balance. You remove their leverage because you show that you are not emotionally swayed. You confuse those who want chaos by offering calm. You shift the power dynamic, not by overpowering, but by not being overpowered. That pause becomes your anchor in a world of constant noise. The pause also grants you time to recalibrate, to examine whether what you are about to say carries weight, or if it is just noise. It allows you to hold authority without aggression, to display confidence without having to dominate. People lean in when you pause. They wonder what you are thinking. They become more attentive, more receptive, and more respectful. It builds suspense. It creates tension, but the right kind of tension, the kind that pulls people toward your words. The pause invites curiosity, and curiosity invites connection. It is in these brief silences that you regain sovereignty over yourself. You resist the urge to speak mindlessly, to fill the air with clutter. You create a boundary between your thoughts and your words, allowing the best and clearest of them to rise to the surface. The pause helps you weigh your intentions, measure your purpose, and sharpen your message. It is a micro-meditation, a moment of composure amidst the emotional noise of conversation. This is not just a conversational tactic, it is a mental discipline. The pause mirrors the stillness of a clear mind. It is the outward expression of inner clarity. When you practice it consistently, you rewire your relationship with your own speech. You begin to speak with intention rather than habit. You speak less, but when you do, every word lands like a stone in still water, unavoidable, undeniable, and strong. It's no longer about being right or being fast. It's about being grounded. The ability to pause is also an antidote to emotional reactivity. When someone insults you, when a conversation grows heated, when you feel the pull to interrupt or defend yourself, that is precisely when the pause becomes your most powerful weapon. It separates you from your impulses. It reminds you that you are not obligated to react in kind. You are free to choose silence. You are free to let the other person reveal their character while you reveal your discipline. The great orators, the wise leaders, the Stoic philosophers, they all understood this. They did not fear silence. They embraced it as part of their communication, because in that pause, they owned not only their words, but also themselves. The silence between their sentences was not empty. It was full of authority, full of presence, and most importantly, full of meaning. It told others, I am not here to compete for noise. I am here to communicate something real. The next time you find yourself in conversation, remember, the pause is not dead space. It is the arena where your wisdom is shaped. It is your chance to lead, not by shouting, but by showing that you have nothing to prove. You will find that those who can pause, who can wait, who can hold their tongue until their words are ready, are always the ones who are truly heard. In your next conversation, deliberately pause before responding. Even if it feels awkward, allow the silence. Think of your words as precious coins. You do not throw them away carelessly. Chapter 4. Speaking is storytelling, weaving words like a master. The greatest speakers in history were not the loudest. They were the best storytellers. They knew how to pull you into a narrative, how to make their words dance in your mind. Their words did not just inform, they transformed. They didn't simply convey facts. They invited you into a world where every detail mattered, where every moment was loaded with meaning. These speakers didn't rely on volume or speed to captivate their audience. They knew that true influence comes from the power of storytelling. With each pause, each carefully chosen phrase, They painted pictures in your mind, allowing you to experience their message on a visceral level. Their words lingered in your mind long after they had finished speaking. When you speak wisely, you engage in storytelling. You do not bark orders or dump information. You paint a picture. You weave a narrative that others can follow, one that guides them into your world, into the understanding you seek to convey. You invite others to see through your eyes, to feel what you feel, and to understand your perspective. Your words become a bridge between two minds, creating shared meaning. This is how you command attention, not by shouting louder than the next person, but by capturing hearts and minds with intentionality and thoughtfulness. This is how you plant the seed of your ideas in another's mind, allowing it to grow and take root. Once you speak with purpose, your words are no longer just sounds. They become a spark for reflection, a prompt for action, and an invitation to deeper thought. But to tell great stories, you must first live deliberately. You must live with intention, with awareness of the moments that pass by, savoring each one as it unfolds. Too often, we rush through life, barely noticing the subtle beauty of the world around us. The true art of storytelling begins not with grand gestures, but with an acute sensitivity to the little things, the quiet moments, the fleeting emotions, and the unnoticed changes. To truly connect with others through your words, you must cultivate the habit of mindfulness, of truly experiencing life in its fullness. You cannot hope to convey wisdom if you have not paid attention to the world around you, to the lessons that lie in the smallest of details, the quiet actions of others, the patterns that emerge in your own behavior. The world is rich with meaning, but you must be willing to slow down and observe it. Too often we move through life distracted, ignoring the wisdom that's already embedded in the ordinary. Yet, in the mundane moments, you will find insights that others miss, if you know how to look. You must be willing to engage fully with life, to embrace the challenges, the struggles, and the joys that come with it. It's not enough to simply experience life. You must live it actively, with open eyes and an open heart. You must welcome the struggles, for it is in these difficulties that you are shaped. Embrace the hard moments, for they hold the richest lessons. Celebrate the joys, for they are the moments that fill your spirit with light and energy. Each of these experiences, big or small, will shape the depth and quality of your storytelling. These are the raw materials of your wisdom. Every experience you encounter, whether good or bad, becomes a building block in the foundation of your story. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, every success and failure you experience, each of these contributes a layer to your narrative. No moment is wasted if you are paying attention. Whether it's a quiet conversation with a friend or a moment of solitude, these experiences provide you with the building blocks for powerful stories that will resonate with others. When you allow yourself to experience life fully, you are also giving yourself the richest material to craft stories that matter. It is through your lived experiences that your words gain weight and authenticity. If you have not lived fully, you cannot speak fully. Your stories will be shallow, lacking the depth that comes only through real experience. But when you draw from the well of your own life, when you bring your true self into the narrative, your words carry a truth that no one can ignore. The lessons you learn and the growth you experience along the way give you the insights you need to craft narratives that resonate deeply with others. Your experiences become the gateway for others to relate, to feel understood, to recognize their own lives in your story. The depth of your life will, in turn, deepen your storytelling. The more you engage with the world, the more you embrace its complexities, the richer and more impactful your stories will become. As you continue to grow, your ability to communicate that growth will also evolve. Your words will take on layers of meaning, and your voice will carry a resonance that reflects your own inner transformation. Storytelling is not simply about telling a tale, it's about sharing the depth of the human experience, making others see, feel, and think in new ways. Start collecting stories from your own life. Write them down. Think about the lessons in them. Practice telling them in conversation, not to impress, but to teach, to connect, to inspire. Chapter 5. Strength in Action, Stoic Poise and Conviction. The final pillar is action. To think clearly and speak wisely means little if you do not act strong. Thought and speech, though powerful, are incomplete without the driving force of action. You can have the clearest vision and the wisest words, but if you do not take the necessary steps to put them into motion, they remain unrealized potential. Action is the bridge between wisdom and results. It is in action that your thoughts and words take form in the world, shaping the course of your life and the lives of those around you. The Stoics taught that we should not be ruled by emotion, but by reason. Our emotional impulses often cloud our judgment and push us to act in ways that do not align with our true values or purpose. When you act from anger, fear, or ego, you are weak. You are ruled by forces outside of your control. Anger clouds your judgment, fear leads to hesitation, and ego drives you to act in ways that are driven by pride rather than principle. But when you act from clarity, from wisdom, you are unshakable. Your actions become the manifestation of your principles, your values, and your deepest understanding. Acting from wisdom allows you to remain calm in chaos, resolute in uncertainty, and unyielding in the face of adversity. It is the kind of strength that is quiet but powerful. A strong action is deliberate. It is measured. It is backed by principles, not impulses. To act without clarity, without a sense of purpose, is to drift aimlessly through life. A person who acts impulsively is at the mercy of their emotions, constantly reacting to external circumstances. But when your actions are deliberate, when they are guided by your reasoning and values, you are in control of your own path. Each step you take is a purposeful choice, aimed at achieving something meaningful, aligned with your highest ideals. It is backed by deep reflection, and it is that reflection that allows you to stay grounded and steady, even in the most turbulent times. A strong action does not rush. It takes the time needed to ensure that every move is in harmony with your goals and principles. And when you combine clear thinking with wise speech and strong action, you become the type of person who cannot be ignored, who cannot be shaken. You become a force to be reckoned with. People will listen because your thoughts are clear and your words are wise, and they will respect you because your actions reflect those thoughts and words. You become a living example of consistency, integrity, and strength. It is not through shouting or forceful domination that you command attention. It is through the quiet, unwavering strength of your actions that others are drawn to you. When you think clearly, speak wisely, and act with purpose, you create a foundation of trust and respect that cannot be easily broken. You become unshakable. Before making any major decision, ask yourself 3 questions. Is this clear? Is this wise? Is this strong? If you can answer yes to all 3, proceed. If not, pause. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Restraint. Choosing when not to speak. Clear thinking and wise speech are not only about what you say, but about what you choose not to say. The Stoics understood that sometimes the greatest strength lies in restraint. There is immense power in holding back words when they do not serve a purpose, when they do not build, when they do not elevate. Words are like arrows. Once released, they cannot be retrieved. Knowing when to keep them in your quiver is as much a skill as knowing when to let them fly. It requires awareness, discipline, and self-command. Restraint is a forgotten virtue in modern times. We live in an age of noise, of instant opinions, rapid reactions, and endless conversations that rarely go deeper than the surface. People speak before they think, and they think while they are speaking. But true wisdom is found not in the abundance of speech, but in its quality, in its timing, and in its necessity. The Stoics taught us that every word you utter should be carefully measured, shaped by reason, and aligned with purpose. Many people speak to fill the silence, to seek validation, to entertain their ego, or to dominate a room. They are uncomfortable with quiet because it forces them to confront themselves. Silence reveals the gaps in their thinking, the emptiness of their intentions. But those who have mastered their mind and their voice understand that silence can be far more powerful than speech. The ability to choose silence is a sign of self-mastery. It is a refusal to waste energy on what does not deserve it. It is the wisdom to recognize that not every conversation requires your opinion, not every argument requires your response. It is an acknowledgement that your energy, your voice, and your presence are valuable resources and should not be squandered. The Stoic sage speaks only when the value of their words exceeds the value of the silence they are about to break. They understand that there is no virtue in speaking merely to be heard. Instead, they weigh their words carefully, considering whether what they say will bring clarity, offer guidance, or improve the moment. Their speech is deliberate, purposeful, and imbued with meaning. Otherwise, they remain quiet, knowing that silence itself can speak volumes. A pause, a well-placed silence, can communicate strength, presence, and control far more effectively than a flood of empty words. In the space of silence, others will lean in to listen, not because you demanded their attention, but because you earned it. Restraint in speech also protects you from unnecessary conflict and regret. How often do we speak without thinking, only to wish we had said nothing at all? How often do we fall into the trap of trying to win an argument, only to realize later that the cost of victory was far greater than the reward? The Stoic understands this human tendency and counteracts it with discipline. They realize that most arguments, most emotional outbursts, and most regrettable words could have been avoided if only they had paused, reflected, and chosen silence. It is in that pause that the emotional storm loses its power and clarity returns. When you practice restraint, you develop something few people possess in today's impulsive culture, an aura of calm authority. You become the person in the room who is unshaken, who listens intently, who does not feel the need to prove themselves with every breath. Your restraint becomes your armor. Your silence becomes your sword. When you finally choose to speak, your words carry weight because they are rare, considered, and meaningful. In mastering the discipline of restraint, you become someone who does not react to every provocation. You become someone whose voice is not tossed around by the winds of emotion or ego. Your silence becomes a sanctuary for your thoughts, a space in which you refine your perspective before sharing it. And your words, when you offer them, become a gift rather than a burden, something people want to hear because they know you have not wasted them. Throughout your day, practice asking yourself before you speak, is what I'm about to say necessary, helpful, and wise? If it is not, hold your tongue. Learn to be comfortable with the pause and the silence. Chapter 7. Emotional Control, the Silent Architect of Strong Action. The Stoics taught that emotions are not the problem. It is being ruled by them that weakens you. Anger, fear, envy, or pride, all of these emotions are natural, part of the human condition. They arise spontaneously, sometimes without warning, triggered by events, words, or even memories. But when they dictate your behavior, when they drive your decisions, you become a slave to forces outside yourself. You surrender your power to things beyond your control, and in doing so, you relinquish your freedom to choose wisely. To act strong, you must cultivate emotional clarity. you must train yourself to recognize when an emotion arises and then pause long enough to understand it before reacting. This requires discipline and awareness. It means developing the habit of stepping back from your immediate impulses, creating distance between the feeling and the action. The moment you notice the surge of emotion, you have the power to choose how you will respond. This gap between emotion and action is where your true power lives. In that space, you reclaim your agency, your authority over yourself. Emotional clarity is not about suppressing your feelings. It is about understanding them, questioning them, and deciding what place they deserve in your behavior. You do not let your emotions speak for you. You let your reason and principles shape your voice. You learn to listen to your anger without letting it speak through you. You acknowledge your fear without letting it paralyze you. You recognize your pride without letting it corrupt your choices. When you allow emotions to govern your speech and actions, you hand your strength over to chance. You become reactive, unpredictable, easily manipulated by others who know how to provoke you. You live at the mercy of every insult, every setback, every perceived threat. But when you can hold your ground, acknowledge your feelings without being consumed by them, and act with clarity, you become unshakable. You transform from a reactive participant to a deliberate creator of your own life. You become the architect of your behavior, anchored in reason and guided by principles, immune to the chaos of fleeting emotions. Whenever you feel triggered or emotional, pause. Take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, is my reaction aligned with my principles, or is it being driven by my emotions? Train yourself to act, not react. Chapter 8. Mental Preparation. Always be 10 steps ahead. To speak wisely and act strong, you must anticipate the world. You must prepare your mind, not only for the obvious challenges, but also for the subtle ones, the unexpected ones, the difficulties that most people never even consider until they are face to face with them. This is not paranoia, it is strategic thinking. It is foresight paired with self-awareness. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, not so they could live in fear, but so they would never be surprised by adversity. They understood that much of life is outside our control, but the one thing we can control is how prepared we are to meet it. To anticipate is not to obsess over worst-case scenarios. It is to mentally rehearse reality in its many possible forms. The prepared mind is one that is never shocked, never thrown off balance, because it has already walked the battlefield of possibility long before the real battle arrives. The clear thinker spends time reflecting on the paths ahead, asking, what could go wrong? What obstacles may arise? How might others behave? Where might my own weaknesses show themselves? They run these questions not to burden themselves, but to free themselves from panic, hesitation, or rash decisions. A clear thinker is always thinking several steps ahead. They do not merely react to circumstances, they anticipate them. They know their principles, their limits, and their strategies. They do not walk blindly into situations, leaving their fate in the hands of chance or emotion. Instead, they survey the terrain ahead of them, assessing not only what is visible, but also what may lie beyond the horizon. They anticipate obstacles, social dynamics, unspoken tensions, and even their own internal weaknesses. They know that preparation is not simply an intellectual exercise, it is a form of discipline that creates mental flexibility and readiness. This mental readiness allows them to adapt quickly, speak decisively, and act effectively. They do not freeze in uncertainty or crumble in adversity. Instead, they meet every challenge with calm precision because they have already trained for it. Mental preparation is not about rigidly controlling the outcome, it is about controlling your response. It is about ensuring that no matter what happens, you will not be surprised by your own reaction. You will not be shaken by unforeseen events because you have trained your mind to remain calm, curious, and focused. The Stoic who practices anticipation sharpens their mind like a blade. They visualize the possible outcomes, both positive and negative, not to dwell in pessimism, but to ensure they remain composed in all circumstances. They prepare not only for failure, but for success, recognizing that both can challenge the stability of their mind. Success can inflate the ego. Failure can shake your confidence. But when you have anticipated both, you are not ruled by either. This foresight becomes your silent advantage, your invisible armor, protecting you from panic, pride, or indecision when the moment of action arrives. Before entering any important conversation, meeting, or decision, take a few minutes to mentally prepare. Consider possible objections, challenges, or emotional triggers. Plan how you will respond with clarity, wisdom, and strength. Chapter 9. Presence. The power of full attention. Thinking clearly, speaking wisely, and acting strong requires presence. In the modern age, most people live distracted. Their minds are scattered, half listening, half reacting, and rarely grounded in the moment. They divide their attention across multiple conversations, digital notifications, and endless streams of information. This fractured state of awareness weakens not only their ability to communicate, but also their capacity to make clear, deliberate decisions. But the Stoics practiced deep presence. They understood that without awareness, there can be no mastery. When you are fully present, you listen more, you notice more, you think more clearly. You begin to perceive layers of information that others miss, the subtle shifts in body language, the emotional undercurrents behind words, the quiet truths hidden between the lines. You no longer operate from habit or impulse. Instead, you become aware of yourself and your surroundings, reading the room like a strategist, aware of every nuance. This awareness gives you an edge in every interaction. Presence is the foundation of self-mastery. When you are present, you control your speech, you control your reactions, you choose your actions deliberately. You notice the subtleties in others, the tone, the tension, the unspoken cues, and you respond with precision. You speak less, but what you say is more impactful because it is informed by everything you have observed. Your actions become intentional rather than automatic. Your speech becomes meaningful rather than noisy. In a distracted world, presence is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. Those who cultivate presence command attention without effort. They create an atmosphere of calm authority simply by being fully there, by giving their complete attention to the moment. This presence radiates strength and invites trust. People want to speak to someone who listens fully, who engages deeply, who does not drift away mentally while appearing to listen. Your presence becomes a gift to others, a reflection of discipline and care. Developing presence is a practice. It requires you to slow down, to put away distractions, to tune in rather than tune out. It demands mindfulness, the ability to return your focus to the now whenever it drifts. Over time, presence sharpens your thinking, refines your speech, and strengthens your actions. It makes you a better listener, a better communicator, and ultimately, a stronger, clearer, and wiser individual. Train yourself to bring your full attention to every conversation. Put away distractions. Look people in the eye. Listen not only to their words, but to their body language. Respond from presence, not from habit. Chapter 10. Integrity. Aligning thought, word, and action. The ultimate expression of thinking clearly, speaking wisely, and acting strong is integrity. It is the culmination of all three virtues converging into a single, unshakable foundation. When your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned, you become unstoppable. You are no longer fractured or contradictory. You no longer wrestle internally between what you think, what you say, and what you do. Instead, you live in harmony with yourself, grounded in clarity, wisdom, and unwavering purpose. The Stoics taught that integrity is not about external validation. It is not about appearances, applause, or the fleeting approval of others. It is about internal consistency. It is about becoming the kind of person whose speech and actions flow naturally from their principles, whose very existence is a reflection of what they believe. A person who does not say one thing and do another. A person who does not hide behind false words or empty gestures. A person whose character is evident even in their silence and small choices. When you live with integrity, people listen to you because they trust you. You become a person of substance in a world of noise. Your clarity of thought becomes visible in your speech. Your wise words are backed by strong actions, and those actions are not driven by external rewards, but by an unwavering commitment to your own values. You no longer need to convince anyone of your value. Your life becomes the evidence. Your consistency, your discipline, your quiet strength will speak louder than any words could. You embody the principles you stand for, and people cannot help but notice. They recognize that you are not acting out of self-interest or performance, but from an authentic foundation that is unshaken by the shifting tides of opinion. Integrity is not something that can be claimed. It must be demonstrated, and it is demonstrated not once, but repeatedly, over time, in every choice you make. It shows up when no one is watching, when there is nothing to gain and everything to lose. It appears in the smallest details of how you treat others, how you honor your word, how you carry yourself even in the face of adversity. Living with integrity means you never have to remember the lies you told or the image you pretended to project, because there is nothing false to maintain. Your life is simple, clear, and whole. True integrity is not a single act. It is a habit, a lifestyle, a way of being. It requires constant self-examination and the courage to correct your course when you falter. It is a daily practice of alignment, of ensuring that what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. It demands that you choose what is right over what is easy, what is true over what is convenient, and it requires humility because you will stumble, you will fall short. But the person of integrity does not hide from their missteps. They face them, learn from them, and do better tomorrow. And when you live in this way, thinking clearly, speaking wisely, acting strong, and aligning all of these through the discipline of integrity, you become immovable, a beacon for others in a world desperate for authenticity and strength. You inspire not through grand speeches or outward displays, but through the quiet, unwavering example of a life well lived. People will look to you not because you demand their attention, but because your integrity commands their respect. Every night, reflect on your day and ask yourself, did my actions reflect my words? Did my words reflect my thoughts? Did my thoughts reflect my values? Work daily to close any gap between them.